Hi everyone, thanks for reviewing my video on game-based learning, and let's see how you can get started in your classroom. So first of all, what is game-based learning? This is sometimes called gamification, but they are two different things, game-based learning and gamification. So from EdTech Review, we see that game-based learning is gameplay that has a specific learning outcome, and gamification, we get the definition from Techotopia, and they say that gamification is when you take a non-learning experience or scenario and you apply game-like experience to it. So an example would be going to Starbucks and you getting reward points for visiting and buying their product. So adding points or badges to something is an example of gamification when you take a non-learning situation and you add games and points to it. All right, so what does it look like in the classroom? So there's a couple links that I'm going to click on here, and I want us to take a look at what it actually looks like. So the first one we're going to look at is from Sean Cornely, and what he does is he does a lot of gamification. So he takes games that are not specific for learning and education, and he applies a learning situation to it. So you can see popular games that he uses is Portal 2. I've never played Portal 2, but I've definitely heard a lot about it. Minecraft, we've all heard of Minecraft in one way or the other, and he uses that in the classroom. And he teaches a physics class, so all of these are physics-based class. And so he takes a game and he applies a learning situation to it. So one of the footnotes here I thought was interesting. He found he took Super Mario's Brother game and he asked his students to calculate the acceleration due to gravity of a specific world in Mario. So he says gravity in the Mushroom Kingdom appears to be about 91 meters per second squared. He said that's about 9 G's. That's where more than most people can't tolerate without losing oxygen to supply to the brain. Compared to us, our gravity here on Earth is 9.8. So 9.8 compared to 91 is a big difference. So I just thought that was cool. Okay, so the second one I want us to look at is this one's specific for a math classroom. So here's another example of what can happen. And this is from Patrick Finley. And what he suggests is the best math games that you can use are puzzle games, and there are a lot of apps for that. So he suggests that if you want a critical math thinker, give them a puzzle, and there's a lot of puzzles in the App Store on Google Play and in the Apple iOS store. And he gives a list of some of the ones that are free and some of the ones that cost money. And again, he talks about the reasons why he thinks puzzles are good for developing the math mind and the math thinker. All right, so moving on to the next slide. My experience with game-based learning. Last year, I taught physical science, and that's a 10th grade class, and we were looking at simple machines. And this wasn't a highly motivated class. They weren't easily engaged. So I found a board game online and I printed it out, and it had it's kind of like Candyland. You rolled the dice and you went a certain amount of times. Well, that's kind of the way the board game worked. And if your partner asked you the question and you got it correct, you get to move the certain amount of spaces that you rolled with the dice. Um, to my surprise, the students were fully engaged and very active in their learning with this. It was just a simple board game, but we made a tournament out of it. So whoever won that game would play, the other group that won, and it got down to the last two people, and it was really fun. So the kids had a lot of fun with this short, simple game, but they were actually learning at the same time. So benefits. So this leads into the benefits of game-based learning. Um, they're highly engaging. Most of all depends on what type of game you have. The motivation, gratification, accomplishments, all of these are really important when you're looking at gaming. and it's important for learning. And if you're researching game-based learning and you're looking through scholarly articles, Mark Prensky is one of the leading researchers in game-based learning. So here's one that we have here, and I want to show you what he says here. It says, computer and video games are potentially the most engaging pastime in the history of mankind. So that's a pretty bold statement. And he said this is due, in my view, to a combination of 12 elements. So I want to go through these elements really quick, and you can see why he says what he says. And I think most of us would agree with the 12 points that he makes. Games are a form of fun that gives us enjoyment and pleasure. Games are a form of play that gives us intense and passionate involvement. Games have rules, which is good for structure in the classroom. Games have goals that gives us motivation. Games are interactive. That helps us do something. They're adaptive. They make it flow. Games have outcome and feedback. So if you lose a level, you can kind of tell what you need to do a little bit differently next time. And that gives us learning. So outcomes and feedback is a big one. The second one, the next one says win states. That gives us ego gratification. So we feel good about accomplishing something. And number 9 says conflict, competition, challenge, and opposition. That gives us adrenaline. Number 10, problem solving. This is a big one that you hear educators talk about all the time. And games spark our creativity. Games are interactions, and that gives us social grouping. And lastly, number 12, we have they represent a story, and that gives us emotion. So those were just some points that I thought were good when you think about gaming and why you should use games in the classroom. All right, so how do you get started? So we're going to look at this link. Here we go. Okay, so here we have Andrew Miller, and he gives an overview of what a gaming unit can look like. This wouldn't be applicable to puzzle games, but this is like a whole unit using games. So think of a game like Mario with the different things here. We have um, different levels. The overall theme, you have to have a theme for your game. Um, so this is what I want to focus on, incentives. So teachers can give experience points, badges, and other incentives to keep affirming and rewarding the students. If you don't do this, then you lose a really important part of gaming, and the students won't be motivated, they won't be engaged to learn anymore. So that's one thing you can look at when we look at gaming. Here's another one. And this can get you started, and you can look at different examples. So whatever subject that you might teach, even if you're running a company or a business, there's a couple games here that they list that you can use in your business. Very interesting. Health and career education is often left out, but there's quite a few games here that you can choose from. Social studies, science, and math. These are all examples of some games that you can use in the classroom. All right, so what are some types of games? Like my example with the physical science class, it was a simple board game. So they can be simple card games, board games, or something that you make up. Digital games, apps, interactive flash games, video games, all these would be digital games. So my example, I want to show you just a second. So this is what I do for review in my class. So at the end of every semester, I like to review for the upcoming midterms or final exams. And this is what I do. We all get together. Most of the time, I group the kids up in either um, boys against girls, or we kind of mix them up as two teams. And the object of the game is to get the most points. So behind each square we have here is a different number of points. Some of them can be 100 points. Some of them can be 5 points. We don't know. But the only way you can get points is if you answer a question correctly. So I ask the students a question, they get it right. They can come up to my smartboard and touch one they want. Okay, well this one says Zonk, so that's the name of the game, Zonk. So if you get a Zonk, then you don't get any points that round, and it goes to the next team. Okay. Well, if you don't want to chance yourself and go up to the board, you can take a free, I don't know, 15 points and go on to the next level. Well, the kids love chancing and trying to get as many points as they can. And they get to go up to 3 times. See, if I were that student, I would have gotten zonked and I wouldn't have gotten those 5 points. There's another zonk. I'm hitting all the zonks today. So you can go up to 3 times and see they wouldn't have won those points. So if I reached that 200, I would stop right there and I wouldn't go any further. So this is just a game to help the students be motivated and answer the questions correctly when we're going through them. It's just a simple, easy way to help students remember things and go through a review, and it's through a game. So there is a real Zonk game, and you can have it on the App Store and the iPad, and it's exactly the same way as the the Zonk board that I made. So if you have iPads in your classroom, that might be something that you want. And this is one of the newest games, and it's probably one of the most engaging games I think I've seen. And it's not really a game, but you can do tons of stuff with it. It's called Kahoot. Okay, and if you want to check this out, you go to getkahoot.com. If you go to that, you'll be able to sign up. I want to go ahead and sign in and give you an example of what Kahoot you can use it for in the classroom. So I've already made one sample, so let's go through that. Here's my sample game. Let's play. All right, so I'm ready to launch it, and in a second it'll say, get your phone and tablets out now, and the kids can pull their cell phones out or whatever they're doing in the classroom, and it has a really cool, fun, game-like music. All right, so I'm going to show you on my phone how to go to it.
Which I'll show you.
So we'll go to, so Kahoot.it is what I have to type in on my browser on my phone. Kahoot.it. And then it's going to ask me for the game pin, and I'm going to type in what I see on the screen. So what you see on the screen is what you will have in the front of your classroom, and the kids will see this on their phone. I don't know if you can see that. All right, so I'm going to enter in my Kahoot. Oh, I left out a number. It's 3 8s instead of 2. There we go. All right, so it's going to ask me for a nickname, so I'm going to do my initials. SA, so there they are. So now you can see that I'm ready to go on the screen, and all the players will accumulate here. So now I'm ready to start the game. So this is the teacher starting the game. All right, so you can see I'm getting ready on my phone. And then it says, what phylum does this animal belong to? So this is biology class. So I have the choice of Porifera or Cnidarian, and I know the answer. So I'm going to click it. So this was the survey, so it's not going to give me any feedback on if I was correct or not, but it will show you the population of who picked which choice. So we had Porifera or Cnidarian. So I can look at the picture again and we can discuss it. So that's it. So the survey is over and then I'm done. It's really easy to connect. Kids love it. And that's another way you can do review type things in the form of a game in your classroom. All right, so here's my conclusion. So we talked about game-based learning and gamification, and they're slightly different, but you can use them both in the classroom. Teachers are using this style of learning to keep their students engaged and motivated to learn, and that's one of my big things that I strive to do in my classroom is keep students engaged and motivated. and we looked at gamification and the different forms that it can take. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you can use it. All of the links and the sources that I used for this video I will put in the comments on this video, and I have a Symbaloo that has all of the links connected to it, so I'll share that Symbaloo with you. Hope you had a good time. Thanks.